reflecting together is thinking together. Basically, you could say that the brain of a group or a team is their communication pattern. It's the way in which they talk and listen to each other over time. The basics of people sharing thoughts is quite difficult, because you as a person, when you think about something, when you're in a discussion and your mind is sort of running on, you always think much more than you are able to communicate. You have much more thoughts, ideas and sensations around this topic than you can sort of put into words and send to the rest of the team. So it means that what you are able to express is always quite not necessarily a good representation of your thoughts. So it's difficult to get the right expressions, right? And then even if you are successful in this, when this string of words hit another person, they will not hear exactly the same thing that you sent, because their brain has other genes, other experiences that are used to translate and interpret what you're saying. So it always comes into their mind in a bit different way than it was meant when it was sent. So these are the general conditions of people talking about something difficult together, right? So this means basically that if you are serious and you're talking about difficult things or advanced things, what you need to do as a listener is to help the person who's trying to say something to express what they're saying as good as possible. If you're a normal person, your brain is always partly occupied with the thought, what are people thinking about me? And you can also say that another part of your brain is constantly occupied with, what am I thinking about the other individuals in this team? You can't turn this off, right? But in a simple way, you can say in a cold team, these parts of your brains will be quite active. It would take quite a lot of your brain power will be consumed by these thoughts. But in a warm team where you're relaxed with the relationships, you don't have to care that much about that, saying exactly the right things or if there's a conflict or a problem. And the reason is that they know if something goes wrong, they will be able to correct that. They will be able to resolve that situation. So that's what you're after. It's not warmness in the team, which is basically what you're after. It's not about people just being kind to each other and saying nice things, because that would be another kind of censorship. That would not be efficient. But instead, it's the trust in your ability to deal with issues that comes up from a social point of view, right? So why is this important? Well, you could say if you're able to create a warm team, the people in the team, your team members, this will result in them saying more interesting things. The reason for that is that your knowledge is basically on a scale from things you are quite certain on to things that are more your thoughts, your ideas, and you're not sure, but maybe it could be this way and so on. So if you have a team where you feel comfortable, you will dare to share more of these sort of, in your case, advanced thinking. And if you're in a cold team, you will stay in the more, accepted and non-controversial ideas. And if you're working with more difficult tasks, you need this more advanced thinking. There's an expression that's becoming quite common right now, where people say aloud that, oh, now I'm gonna try to think aloud about this, which is an excellent way of expressing things, because it means that you are telling the people who listens to you that you're not sure this is a good idea, but you want to take a chance here and express that. It means that if it's wrong, they can laugh at you, or they can just say, oh, well, that won't work because, and it's not a big deal because you said that from the beginning, right? I'm testing to think aloud, right? But on the other hand, it could be a thought that makes people go, that's really interesting, and so, which is exactly what you want to capture in collective intelligence, right? So this is one part. So in a warm team, people will say more interesting things. The other thing, the other end of that is that in a warm team, people will also be prepared to change the way they think about something, which is not something we automatically do. As a matter of fact, the more stressed we are, the more threatened we feel, the less likely we are to change our thoughts on something. And that's actually a defense mechanism. It's something we should be fairly grateful that we have. But from a technical or biological point of view, it means that the more stress or the more threatened you feel in a team, the more you're locked into the way you are already thinking. And remember, collective intelligence is sharing different perspectives and integrating them, creating a larger representation. So now, if you are not able to appreciate and reflect on someone who has a different point of view, then you won't be able to develop this representation. People will sort of stay in their already pre-programmed ways of thinking about things, right? So in essence, you can say that if you create a high level of relationship in a team, you will automatically get more interesting thoughts shared, and you will also have participants who are able to use those thoughts and integrate them. Integration capability is in essence how much the team members make an effort to create a team, a working team. And what do we mean by that? Well, you can think about how much effort a person puts into a task is actually on a scale. The lowest level is basically when someone, I really don't want to do this, I don't like this task, maybe I'm even a bit hostile to the whole thing, I don't see any point in it, etc. On the other side of the scale, you have, something that courts your commitment and ambition so much, like it's something that you basically want to do yourself and that you feel is super important and funny, etc. You can put as much energy as you have into this task. And you can say that one of the abilities of high performing teams, of course, is that you have more effort than average from the individuals in the teams. If you think of what it means to be a good team player, it could be, there is no general rule really, because you could take for example, where you as a person have a different opinion compared to the rest of the team. What should you do with that? Well, you could say sometimes that being a good team player means that you adopt, right? The team wants this, so I go along. Sometimes that's being a good team player. On the other hand, sometimes maybe you are the only one who has seen or understood something that is super important to the team. So it's actually your best contribution to the team is to be opposing what they're trying to do and objecting and arguing against it, so on. And what should be the right thing to do? Well, you can't really say. Only you as an individual can decide what is it that makes me feel, that I have a different opinion. Is it something that is good for the team, or is it something that is just, for my personal use or for my own comfort zone? That will decide how you should act, right? But as you can see, the action in itself could be, in both situations, you can be a good team player. So this is the basic of the integration capability, and it's the most individually oriented of the 4 capabilities, and it says that people need to be heedful in how they contribute to the team and for what reasons. Representation is basically the ideas about the team and the teamwork that is shared by the team members. How much of a common idea of what's going on, what the background is, how we're organized, where we're going, and so on, is actually shared by the team members. So that's the representation. And then you can say, you can think like this: if you're doing something fairly complex and you have this big understanding, you have talked so much about what you're doing, so you have sharing so this much of different ideas around this task, right? Compared to another team that maybe only have talked about this, so quite a bit smaller piece. Then you have, in the larger case, a much bigger advantage in actually doing something intelligent, because here, if you talked about this much, you will see much more connections, resources, issues, possibilities than this team will be able to catch, right? So you could say that it will be an advantage to have as large representation as possible. Since people have always slightly different thoughts and ideas around things, two persons can't really see exactly the same thing if they're observing something, because we have different experiences and even different genes. Makes us sort of, our brain are stimulated in a different way when they observe something, right? So there's always a difference, but this is a good thing. If you think about it, then it means that the more different the team members think about something, the larger representation you can create, theoretically, right? So differences is actually a good thing. The bad side of differences is that it makes it harder for us to understand each other. So two persons who have perhaps different view on a task, right? You could say, as an example, you could have an activity based view on a task. You're looking into what parts it consists of, how they fit together, how much time it takes to do them, and so on, right? Which is a fairly efficient way of looking at doing something collectively. But you could also have a human perspective on the same thing, where you look at what people are involved, how they feel about things, how you can stimulate them, how you can get them energized, and so on, which is quite a different way of looking at a team, right? But both these ways are relevant and have a function. So in theory, if you have two persons which have these different ideas of what's important in the task, you could sort of make them cover both these perspectives in your team. But because they are different, it also means that perhaps they don't understand each other. So when they talk and communicate in the team, it always sounds strange when the other person talks. You find them prioritizing in the wrong way, bringing up the wrong issues, blah, blah, blah. So it turns out that these two persons stop talking to each other, or they stop listening to each other. So difference can be something positive for a team, but it could also make it harder to cooperate. So in essence, what you want in a team is to increase the skill in cooperating with other people, because if people are more skilled in cooperation, they will be able to bring together more different perspectives on the same task, which in the long run will be an advantage. So that's sort of a summary of the representation capability of a team.